Does anyone feel that something is just off? That something is just about to change? That something just isn't right. Almost like you can feel it in the air. That like there's tension. It's almost sliceable in the air wherever you go. And certain places where I don't feel this unease, I feel like it's around people that are just always distracted or always hanging out with the Joneses or always just doing their material thing, and they don't really look at the whole piece of the puzzle or all the puzzle pieces. So I usually make these under 3 minutes, and most people don't watch anything under 20 seconds anymore. But I hope that at least somebody listens and at least tries to tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, there's a lot of things going on right now. And if we, the people, and I don't just mean here in the United States, I mean around the entire globe, if we don't start to slow down and just wake up a little bit, maybe study a little bit of history, then we're going to lose something very, very special. And it's happening rapidly. So I'm going to go down a list. And on this list, it's a list of things historically that if this happened to another empire, just one or two of these things would cause the destruction it has. Ask the Romans, ask the Greek, ask many other empires that have come and gone. Okay, so I'm just going to start at the top. Now think about these things and how it leads into big time civilization changing events. All right, number one, if you keep up with commodities like the price of gold, the price of gold is $4,000 an ounce. Okay, so why does the price of gold have to do with anything life-changing like a global conflict or a big regional conflict, meaning war? The price of gold will go up when the global reserve currency, which is the dollar, isn't trusted anymore. It's not. People don't trust it. I think the global flavor is, the United States dollar. Why do we use it? They only have 340 million people, and now here comes BRICS and all this with like 60% of the world's population, and the United States. I think the United States controls about 60% of global trade or something, give or take. And the other side of the world is catching up and going to surpass very quickly because no one really wants to do business with the United States anymore. I'm just saying. I mean, just look this up. So people are dropping the dollar and investing in something more tangible that they can put their hands on, that they can trust. And gold has been that for many, 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 many centuries, thousands of years, right? So think about that. The price of gold has gone up to $4,000 per ounce. Now, if you look at the historical models of gold jumping up that high, look at World War One, look at World War Two, look at Vietnam, look at the first Gulf War, look at when Russia invaded Ukraine. So this jump to 4,000 is the biggest jump ever, percentage-wise. I think you can go back to like the Spanish-American War, and there was a big jump then. The Civil War, even, there was a jump then. But this is an astronomical jump. And not only gold, but tungsten, a big-time wartime material for tanks and bullets, way up. Cobalt, way up. Another military commodity. Silver, like $40, $50 an ounce. Like silver, wow, that's a lot. So think about that. Number two, Three-Eye Atlas. And, there's a saying that I say, WGAS, which is an acronym, WGAS. It stands for Who Gives a Shit. But this Three-Eye Atlas thing, here's this comet, that pops into maybe our dimension. It's on our elliptical plane, and this thing is, dropping probes off, and there's drones all over the place. Now, if you look, I'm not quoting the Bible here, but I've read it a few times. It's been a while, but I think even in the Bible, it states that in times of extreme hardship, in other words, like the Armageddon type thing. I think it was in Revelations. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if in comments. Again, I'm not an expert in this field. Do have faith, but not an expert in this field. But it says something along the lines, don't be fooled or don't be distracted or don't believe when someone may be extraterrestrial or not from this world. Don't believe what you see, in other words. So I'm not saying there's some hocus pocus thing, but if you look at some of the scams that AI is pulling off these days, looking like your mother, talking like your mother, and someone saying, I've got your mother right here, pay me, and it's actually people. It's AI, and these scams are killing people, like making people empty out their bank accounts or shooting themselves or whatever. So this Three-Eye Atlas thing, if this thing somehow comes around the back of the sun and they start showing all these videos of alien probes, do yourself a favor and don't follow everybody into chaos. Just hang tight, lay low, okay? Don't believe everything that you see, okay? Now let's look at the state of some of our cities, if not all of our major cities. Not all, but a lot of them. Chicago, LA. they're war zones, and I don't mean that they actually are war zones. I mean, now we've got helicopters landing on roofs, flushing people out, and rounding them up, and then they've, don't ask questions at first. They just shackle them and smoke bombs and tear gas, and then they ask questions later. So you have all these stories of women and children that have worked here, families that were pushed out on the street, handcuffed, put in detention facilities. Ultimately, oh, you are American. See you later. But aren't we all American? I mean, I'm not a proponent of immigration or illegal immigration. I mean, believe me. But the thing is most of these people were let in. They didn't come illegally. It's just that different administrations had different policies, and they let them in. So you can't just go round up a bunch of horses and cattle and go throw them. I mean, they were let in, and most of them legally, and yes, for the wrong reasons. Yes, to sway the vote. I'm not getting into politics, and nor am I getting into immigration. But most of these people, most of them, aren't the typical dope dealing thug that wants to cut your throat out. That's just propaganda. So we have to think about when in the U.S. or any empire did they go from trial, judge, and jury to just blowing up boats. And the story goes on one of these Venezuelan boats, and there's a mother that put this out. It was like her husband and 4 boys that had 25 ice chests, and they were just going to catch fish. That's what they did. But who knows? Who knows the truth? But ask yourself, what happens to empires when we stop having what they're built upon? Fairness, innocent until proven guilty, judge, trial, jury. You mean we just have to blow up this little fishing boat? Now, furthermore, I've been deep sea fishing my whole life. You telling me a fishing boat that looks about 30, 40 feet with a couple outboards on the back is going to go wide open from Venezuela all the way through Jamaica, Puerto Rico? I mean, what's the mileage there? It's got to be, 800 miles, 1,000 maybe? I mean, look, I can fill up a center console boat with a couple outboards and put $500-600 worth of fuel in it, and I'll go about 50, 100 miles and won't even make it back. So do the math there and do a little education and researching on how in the hell is that little fishing boat going to cross the entire Gulf of Mexico or America or whatever you want to call it. Think about that, okay? So let me go down the list here. Rumors of civil wars. Like, we have rumors of this country sliding into a civil war. And we ask ourselves, why? Why? Because a group of radical one side and a group of radical another side keep battling one another. But ask, why are they battling? They're just distracted and they get involved in these isms. One pulls up their phone. Oh, look at this. I like that. And then they start reading the comments and they get radicalized. And then this other side. Oh, look at these. But it's the minority here and the minority there. And everyone else is just stuck in the middle. And then if you look at the history of civil wars, for thousands of years there's been civil wars. Most of the people are like, okay, this doesn't involve me. I'm just going to move to the country and everything will be good. We'll just let them fight it out. But that's not what happens, because this stuff comes into cities, and the cities are like the hub of the economic zone, right? So if your cities crumble, then everything crumbles. So if we're busy destroying our cities, helicopters and war zones, it affects everybody. It affects the economy. It drops the dollar even more. I think the dollar's depreciated now 100%. I think what was once a dollar is now a penny to the globe type thing. So think about that as well. Okay, $38 trillion in debt and counting. The only way that we can continue as a country is by printing money. But it's not backed by anything. It's backed by oil. Well, why do you think we're lined up around Venezuela? We need more resources. I mean, the bankers want their money. Like, if you think that the government runs the world, they're puppets in a way. Right now it's an oligarchy. It's the people that are controlling billion-dollar business, trillion-dollar business like Blackstone or ExxonMobil. It's these people that are calling the shots. And you've got the other side of the world, the other side that's got their version of ExxonMobil and their version of BlackRock, and they want to control. And they're the ones that battle out, and then they propagandize and have the government tell you all this shit, and then assassinate someone over here. I mean, look how these things start, right? And here I am, like 5 or 6 examples in, and no one seems to put it all together. It almost seems to me that no one studied history intently or intensely for decades. Like, I mean, history's fun. Just spend some time and read some books on how did World War I start, how did World War II start, how did the American Civil War start, how did the Civil War in Burma or Myanmar or whatever the recent one was, a country that just collapsed. How did these things start? Here's another alarming stat. We have a roughly 340, give or take, million people in the United States. but we have over 400 million weapons, like firearms. And you ask yourself, how is that statistic going to play out when shit hits the fan? And we can stop the shit from hitting the fan if we just slow down, do a little research on history, and understand that everyone around us is hurting. So instead of still keeping up with the Joneses and, talking behind this person's back, oh, they don't have a beach house, so they're an idiot, or they don't have a stretch Yukon Denali, so they're trailer trash. I mean, that's what it's become. Oh, they don't go to this private school, so they're just, pieces of trash. I've heard it my whole life. It's things like these that is a distraction. Oh, did you hear what this person said about this? Did you hear about what this person? Who gives a shit? Woogus, right? Woogus. Who gives a shit? Don't even pay attention to it. Focus on your family, your faith, your fitness, your health, and lay low. Keep your head down. Don't get involved in isms and stupid shit, because these isms are designed for uneducated people to get involved in. How can an authoritarian government, which it's becoming rapidly, how can the authoritarian government have minions to force these policies and doctrines? They need the uneducated ones. They need the distracted ones that they can go hoorah, hoorah, and get them all pumped up about something they don't even know about. Does anyone understand that those 800 generals, the flag officers, my father was a captain, 06, which is very high up, and I'm talking higher than him. He spent 26 years in pilot, physician in the Navy. So, ask yourself, people even hire admirals, rear admirals, 4-star generals. These are people that have been in the military for 40 years. And these people that have that much time in the military, they are respectful gentlemen. These people have seen a thing or two. They have called mothers and said, hey, your son is no longer with us, or your daughter, so sorry, and brought the flag to the door. They're not wanting to go, hoorah! And they are calm, collected, systematic, and by the book. So when this guy, whatever his name is, Heg Dumbbutt, gets on stage and like, we're gonna create war zones, and if you don't like it, you can get the hell out. The most intense part of that speech is when he got done and he waited for applause, and all those generals sat stoic. And then whoever commanded them was like, hood, hood, and they all got up and dismissed in perfect order and walked out without saying a peep. Now that is leadership. Okay, but this is the world we're coming to, where everyone is distracted, and now we're just like, hoorah! And if you're not an idiot that's distracted, then we don't need you. We just want the idiots. I think recently there was a speech at some Navy or Air Force base, and the only people that were allowed to stand behind the speaker were the young recruits, like the enlisted young recruits. They just wanted them behind because the young ones were just so excited. The speaker was here, and then they were like, oh, everything was exciting, like hoorah, get them riled up. But the senior officers, they're listening to this, they're like stoic and quiet, but in their heads, they're saying, what the hell is going on here? Hey, we should use some of these cities as training grounds for wars? Like, this is insane. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next one. Okay, so the decrease in the birth rate. So as we grow as a society, if you don't have roughly like 2.9 or an average of 2.8, or even in the 3 point whatever children per family, given the fact that there's males and females, and you have to have females to reproduce and this type of thing, you don't always come out statistically perfect. So you got to kind of play with the stats a little bit. But right now it's somewhere like 1.9 or 2.1, and that kind of goes across the globe. Japan, I think, has I think everywhere has issues with that. And you ask yourself, why is that? I'm staring at this stupid shit all day. Well, how does that affect me not reproducing? Because I don't spend any time talking to people growing up. I don't say, damn, that girl's fine. Damn, I'm gonna go talk to her. Man, they just got their phone like porn XX, whatever. They don't worry about, man. I remember I was in 5th grade. I might have been in 4th. I have to ask my parents. I was in Virginia Beach, Virginia, though, at this point, at a Navy base there. We were at Little Creek. And there was this girl. Oh, my God. Her name was Megan DiGeronimo. Damn. She was this, like, little Italian Spanish girl. I've always had a thing for a Spanish girl. That's why I'm married to one. So I remember I would write notes. I was just... And I was, like, in 4th and 5th grade. And I remember, like, first kiss at, like, 6th or something. I mean, I'm not condoning that, but I'm just saying. But nowadays, you got guys like 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade that don't even know how to say, hey, how are you? My name is whatever. Nice to meet you. Can I buy you a Coke or whatever? That's a bad soda. I shouldn't have said that. Can I buy you an orange juice? Coke is actual shit. It'll freaking turn you into shit and a fat ass. So scratch the Coke. But the birth rate, if we don't do something about the birth rate, then how do we grow? Secondly, the education system, the public school system especially, is crumbling. There are teachers quitting en masse. En masse. And I don't just mean a few. I mean by the thousands. Look it up. Why are they quitting? Why are they quitting en masse? First of all, they're underpaid. And number two, they have classrooms full of children that are like at the third grade level. When they're teaching sixth grade, they can't do basic math. They can't spell at all. They can't communicate. They can't look you in the eye. They can't write. And these kids get passed to the next grade because the teacher doesn't want to deal with them again. Because every time the teacher says, hey, shape up, do your work, they're like, what you gonna do if I don't, huh? What you gonna do if I don't? Well, where do they get that behavior from? They get it from home and on their screens. So the other day, I don't let any of my kids have like phones and shit. My two oldest boys who graduated, well, the oldest one graduated from the Air Force Academy. The other one's a senior. They're about to graduate. My oldest girl's a junior in high school. My oldest boys didn't get a cell phone until they were seniors in high school. I did not want them distracted at work. They got to the Air Force Academy. They had to get 32 ACTs. You think they could make that looking at their damn cell phone all day? Hell no. And I knew that. I understood that. My dad was the Navy captain. I knew it took discipline, so that's what they got. So my next oldest daughter wants to do the same thing, well on her way. So I didn't give her a phone until she was a junior, and I made her win a tennis tournament to get it. So she did it. But she was also disciplined to study by that point, so she knew not to be distracted. So my youngest two, I had given my next one to another girl, and she's in 8th grade. And I'd given her a phone that wasn't turned on. She could use Wi-Fi, and she was playing like this free game. And I came around behind her, and I was like, I wish you wouldn't play that shit. And I was reading the comments in this game. It was like some free game. And the comments were absolutely, like, not even involved with the game. I'm sure they were all bots, but here's this little girl playing this game, and I read stuff like, kill yourself, and I can't believe this assassination. I mean, right in the middle of a game. So you're telling me that everyone out there understands what their children are playing and what the comments say? Think about that. They hook them to this game with all these gadgetry and all these lights and press this button. Oh, immediate gratification. But if they look at the comments, which they do consciously or subconsciously, they get brainwashed and lazy and fat and don't want to do anything. And then what happens when you get the cell phone taken away? No, I don't want to do anything. So I had given back to my 13-year-old, I gave her this phone for like a couple of days. And when I finally had enough, I was like, enough. You'll get this phone for an hour a night after you give me at least an hour on the tennis court, and I make sure your studies are done, I mean, in straight A fashion. And for the first 3 days, shoot, bite her nails. Ooh, I don't know what to do. I'm like, this is a withdrawal. It's a detox. Kids these days, when you take their phone away, they don't know what to do. Think about that. You got kids with bikes and skateboards and soccer goals and all this stuff and outside the wilderness and whatever. They could do all this stuff. But they sit here. And then when you take it away, they do this. But after a few days, they kind of relax back into reality. And this is going on ad nauseum. Now, where is this country going to be in 15 or 20 years when these kids have to take our places as leaders and coaches? Huh? What's going to, you going to have this game player that's a blimp that can't even spell or read correctly? You're going to have them run this place? You don't think the current regime that's running this place understands that too? That's why they want to, like, rule with one iron fist. Right? And they want you to be dumb. They want you to be ignorant. Right? So you won't pay attention to this craziness that's going on everywhere. Okay? So I think I have more stuff here. Oh, yeah, I got another one. The fall in faith. Okay? I'm not going to beat you to death with faith or whatever, but what is one thing that keeps civilizations together? A common belief in positive and good. Right? So here's faith, something that has bonded people from the gods of the ancient Greeks and mythology all the way to this very day. What happens when we start losing faith? Okay, if I do this, I won't have a positive next life. Or if I do this, I might have a negative eternity. We forget these things. We just tend to think that we're here, it doesn't matter, whatever. And we get this who cares attitude. Like, who cares Russia's invading Ukraine? Or who cares that we're about to storm Venezuela? Or who cares that Europe wants to go to war with Russia? Or Who cares? Did you know we're fighting over the Panama Canal? So if you look up history, I don't want to bore you with this, but the Panama Canal we gave to Panama after I think 20 years of whatever, and the deal was, okay, don't let it be jeopardized, but it's yours now. And now we're propagating that China now controls it. That's bullshit. So they have a port there with a building on one side and a building on the other. So, hey, we went down there. The troops are already back. If you pay attention, we've already got troops back there. The people, the local population, my wife speaks Spanish. We were watching something earlier, and the people are like, oh, my God, they're walking through our streets with guns. Like, we're not even doing anything. So it is uncanny what is going on. But the biggest freaking indicator is that commodity gold increase. This is a global thing. Everybody utilizes gold. The global reserve currency is the greenback, the dollar, right? So the reserve currency, it now has no faith globally. People want to trade in other things, namely gold. And now there's question marks of whether we actually have any gold. So hence the world's ready to go to war, you know? So we can stay distracted. We can continue to look at our cell phones all day. We can continue to go buy a next car and roll negative equity over, or go get a house and roll more negative equity over. And we can continue saying, oh, did you see what that girl wore to school yesterday? Oh, I like her shirt. I got to get one better. Or, oh, she got a new BMW. I got to go get a Mercedes. If that's all you're doing in life and not paying attention to faith, fitness, health, studying a little bit, what's going to happen when you wake up one day and something has happened and everything changes? Are you prepared? I'm not, this isn't a scare tactic. I'm just telling you, if any of these things had happened and any of the empires, they would cease to exist. They did. And we have a whole entire list of things. I have a whole page of notes I scratched here just for this 21-minute video that I'm sure no one will watch. But okay, I hope one person watches and says, hey, you know what? Let me look into this. Okay, if you don't, take it with a grain of salt, whatever. Just look it up, study these things. I'm not lying to anybody. So think about that, okay? The mindset of we have peace through war, that is the stupidest thing. You have peace by understanding that everybody is human, everybody was created, and everybody needs to be kind because everybody on this earth is fighting a tough battle. And the elite 1%, when you go in these houses with all these Yukons and Mercedes and all these private schools, we must remember, this is a fact. There is only 1% of the 100% of the masses, 1% that is truly elite, meaning elite and the money status. Everyone else is buried in debt, and they may act like they're not, but they are. So if that calculus is correct, and it's correct, okay? By the way, tax returns are public. You can like look up percentages, and 1% is elite, and the other 99% are totally in debt, where they can't even breathe, and they probably fight with their husband every night about wasting frivolous money. I'm telling you. So ask yourself, do we want to continue that same narrative? Or do we want to change the narrative, and where if we all work together and finally just say, hey, let's slow down, let's come together with positive, let's come together with good, stop the war in our cities and blah, blah, and globally, because battle lines are drawing between not only left and right in this country, but east and west in the world. And the global aspect is the East is so tired of seeing bombs dropping on their places for no reason, because they know now, because of the stupid phones, everybody can just communicate freely. They know it's for fucking resources. So they're tired of it. Wouldn't you be tired of it? Would you be tired of it if Venezuela flew up here and said, look, I'm gonna take your ass out, $50 million bounty on our president's head, unless you give me unless you give me New Mexico. Hell no, I'm not going to give you New Mexico. Dropping bombs on freaking all the cities in New Mexico, flattening civilian. I mean, okay, and now that the world can see that, like, why would they want to carry your paper, your greenback around? Anyway, I've said enough. Be kind, because everyone you meet is fighting a tough battle. And honestly, remember this. All of these things, just one of them in history has collapsed. Major 500-year empires, 1,000-year empires. Just one thing like this, right? My favorite crash, and I'm going to leave it at this. Back in the days of Socrates would complain about the kids that he was teaching had become spoiled. They would play with their trinkets, and they wouldn't learn, and then the kids would get older, and they didn't know how to do anything. And if he wrote about this, okay? eventually that crashed the empire, one of the major functions. So if you go back to The Art of War, and this is one of my favorite books, I read it again not long ago. It was an abridged version. The Art of War, they were talking about how a strong king comes and takes the empire, the disciplined king that knows how to run his troops and the deception needed in warfare. Okay? Comes and takes the throne. He has a son that fights with him in battle, a little bit younger, but he's a good guy too. That the king, the father, passes away, and then here comes the son that's still staunch, still loves the empire. But then that son has another son, and he spoils him, and that son is raised weak and doesn't really study and just gets whatever he wants. And then that son has another son, so the kings continue. And when it gets down to a few sons, you got the sons that are going to take over the empire that are dumb as a sack of rocks, and they end up fucking imploding the whole fucking thing. Overextending their military, sending them out all over the place. Do you know any country that's got their military overextended, 800 bases worldwide? I mean, how do you pay for 800 bases worldwide? By having a $38 trillion deficit. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Be smart, put your thinking caps on, and wake up.